Hey everyone, welcome to Chris's Daily Read Aloud, Magic Treehouse Edition. Today we are reading chapters 3 and 4 of Magic Treehouse book number 10, Ghost Town at Sundown by Mary Pope Osborn. If you'll remember, Jack and Annie are in a Wild West town called Rattlesnake Flats, and they just heard piano music. Outside, the sad tune played on. "It's coming from there," said Annie. She crept toward a building that had a sign with the word hotel on it. Jack limped after her. Annie slowly pushed open a swinging door. They peeked inside. The fading daylight lit a piano in the corner of the room. The keys were moving up and down, but no one was there. "Yikes," whispered Annie. "A ghost playing the piano." Suddenly the keys were still. The air got very cold. No way," said Jack. "There's no such thing as a ghost." "We saw one in ancient Egypt," whispered Annie. "Yeah, but that was ancient Egypt," said Jack. His heart raced, though. "I'll look it up." Jack pulled out the Wild West book. He found a picture of a piano. He read aloud. Player pianos were popular in the Old West. The piano played automatically when someone pumped its floor pedals. Later, with the help of electricity, the piano played all by itself. "Whew!" Jack closed the book. "I knew there was an answer," he said. "It must be electric." And somehow it came on. "I didn't know they had electricity in the Wild West," said Annie. "They didn't," said Jack. He looked at Annie. "Oh, man, let's get out of here," he said. Jack and Annie backed out of the hotel. When they got outside, they heard another sound. Horse hooves thumping against the hard ground. A cloud of dust seemed to be moving toward the town. As he got closer, Jack saw 3 riders. They were herding a small band of horses. "Hide," Jack said. "Where?" said Annie. Jack looked around wildly. He saw 2 barrels outside the hotel. "There," he said. Jack and Annie hurried to the empty barrels. Jack climbed inside one and tried to scrunch down. His hat wouldn't fit. He jumped out of the barrel and threw his hat into the hotel. "Mine too," said Annie. Jack grabbed hers and threw it. Then he scrambled back into the barrel, just in time. Jack heard the horses thunder into town. He peeked through a crack in the barrel and saw a blur of cowboys and horses go by. "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" men shouted. Jack heard the horses come to a halt. They stamped and snorted. All he could see were shadows through the crack. Dust covered Jack. He had to sneeze. He pinched his nose. "The creek bed must have dried up," a cowboy yelled. "This town's a ghost." "Yup, it gives me the shivers," said another one. "Let's camp over the rise." Jack really had to sneeze now. He pinched his nose tighter, but he couldn't stop the sneeze. He let out a choked "Achoo!" "What was that?" someone said. Just then, a loud whinny split the air. Jack saw a beautiful horse rear up. She had no rider or saddle, just a rope around her neck. She was as red as the sunset. She had a wild black mane and a white star above her eyes. "We can't keep fighting this one, boss," a cowboy yelled. "Yup, she wants her colt," another said. "We shouldn't have left him behind." "He was too slow," a growly voice said. "We'll sell her then when we cross the border." That's terrible, thought Jack. He knew Annie must be upset too. He just hoped that she wouldn't jump out of her barrel. But the cowboys pulled the red horse away. The ground rang with the pounding of hooves as they galloped off. Jack and Annie stood up. They watched the riders disappear into the dust. The pounding faded away. All was quiet except for the lazy buzzing of flies. They were mean to that horse," Annie said in a low, angry voice. "I know, but there was nothing we could do," said Jack. His boots were killing him. He climbed out of his barrel. "Man, I have to get these off," he said. Jack sat down on the porch of the hotel. He grabbed the foot of one boot and pulled. "Jack," said Annie, "I think there is something we can do." "What?" Jack looked up. A small horse was running down the road. He was as red as the wild mother horse. He had the same black mane and white star above his eyes. A rope was around his neck. He looked very lost. Chapter 4, Hands Up. "It's the colt," said Annie. "He's looking for his mother." She ran toward the wild-eyed little horse. "Wait," called Jack. "Oh, brother." He pulled the book out of his pack. He found a chapter titled Horses of the Wild West. He started reading. At the end of the 1800s, over 1,000,000 wild horses, called mustangs, wandered the Wild West. These tough, fast horses were descendants of runaway Spanish horses. Mustang herders captured them and sold them to ranchers. Breaking a wild Mustang took great skill. Jack turned the page. There was a picture of a herd of horses. 2 of them even looked like the beautiful mare and her colt. "Hey, Annie," called Jack. "You should see this picture." Annie didn't answer. Jack looked up. Annie was trying to get close to the young Mustang, but he kept darting away. "Watch it, he's wild," said Jack. Annie was speaking softly to the colt. She slowly reached out and grabbed the end of his rope. Still talking to him, she led him to a broad wooden post. "Stop, don't do anything," said Jack. He flipped the pages of his book. He found a section called How to Treat a Horse. The basic rules on how to treat a horse are simple: a soft hand, a firm voice, a sunny attitude, praise, and reward. I've got the rules, Jack shouted. Don't do anything before I write them down. Jack pulled out his notebook and pencil. He wrote, horse rules. 1, soft hand. 2, firm voice. 3, sunny attitude. 4, praise. 5, reward. Okay, listen, Jack looked up. But Annie was already sitting on the colt's back. Jack froze. He held his breath. The Mustang whinnied and pawed the ground. He snorted and tossed his head. Annie kept patting his neck and talking softly. Finally, the young horse grew still. Annie smiled at Jack. I named him Sunset, she said. Jack let out his breath. Let's go, said Annie. We have to take him to his mom. Are you nuts, said Jack. We have to solve our riddle. It'll be dark soon. And those guys were real bad guys. I could tell. We don't have any choice, said Annie. Oh, brother. Jack knew she wouldn't change her mind. Let's see what the book says. He read more about Mustangs. Wild Mustangs live together in families. The bond between a mariner young is very strong. His sounds of distress or hunger will always bring her to him. A Mustang cannot bear to wander alone. Jack groaned. He looked at Sunset. The young Mustang did have a sad look in his eyes. Okay, we'll make a plan, he said. But first I have to get out of these boots. Jack grabbed one of his boots and pulled. Hurry, said Annie. I can't even think in these things, said Jack. He huffed and puffed and pulled. Then a deep voice stopped him cold. Hands up, or I'll shoot. Jack let go of his boot. He raised his hands in the air. So did Annie. A cowboy rode out of an alley. His face was bony and tanned. He was riding a gray horse and pointing a six-shooter. I reckon you're the smallest horse thieves I have ever come across, he said. And that is the end of Chapter 4. Join us again tomorrow for Chapter 5, which is called Slim. We'll find out what happens to Jack and Annie. Thanks for reading with me today. Hope everyone has a great day. Stay safe, wash your hands, and have fun. Bye, everybody.